So first of all, I just want to say thanks to everyone for joining today. This is the Ask Me Anything session for the Defense Tech Accelerator Challenge. My name is Angela Austin, and I'm one of the program managers with DIU Ensign. And we're helping in execution of this, and we're going to lead the AMA today and kind of go through an overview of the challenge and walk through some of the key components of the challenge. And then once we get done, we'll open it up for Q&A. So if you have any questions now, you can go ahead and start putting them in the activities button on the lower right-hand corner. And then we'll go through those questions in order and answer them once we get through the overview portion of this. And so to get started, again, my name is Angela Austin, and this session is being recorded so that afterwards, anyone who wasn't able to attend, this will be placed on our website, on our event page under the AMA, so that it's somebody who wasn't able to make it, anyone who couldn't make it can view it at a later time. And we'll also have a Q&A document that will spell out all the questions that were asked here and the responses to those. And so I'd like to do a couple of introductions to get started. As I mentioned, I'm part of the DIU Ensign team in executing this challenge. We also have Megan Saunders, who's on the line. Megan, did you want to say a couple words?
Sure. Thanks, Angela. And thanks again for you all for being here. My name is Megan Saunders. I'm one of the program managers here on the challenge team. Back over to you, Angela.
Thank you. Drayden, are you on the line? Okay, I'll go next with Chris. Chris Groves is also part of this challenge, and I just wanted to turn it over to you for a quick second, Chris, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Absolutely. Hi, Chris Groves over here with OnRamp Hub, Washington, and really pleased to have everyone's time today, and I look forward to a productive Ask Me Anything session, and I'll keep it at that.
Thank you. And then we have Kelly Allen. Would you like to say a couple words?
Yeah, sure. Appreciate the intro. Kelly Allen, I'm also with OnRamp Hub Washington. So I'm the one that if you get down selected, you'll see it every place, putting on the speakers and everything else and doing a lot of the coordination for you. But super excited about this program. And as we talk through it, please ask anything like it says. I know Angela and Megan have a good sound knowledge of this, but making sure that you walk away from this event with anything that you have lurking on your, we're already getting some questions. Obviously, we got to be fair and equitable to all the solicitation and stakeholders in this, but making sure that you walk away with a good knowledge of what we're looking for and making sure that you guys are very comfortable with everything is really important for this. So appreciate your time. And this is going to be very exciting and a good thing that's going to be out there for all of you. So appreciate it. And over to you, Angela.
Thanks, Kelly. And with that, I will move along to the challenge overview. So the goal of this challenge is to kind of serve as the gateway into the accelerator program. So in this problem statement that we have listed, they're looking for some innovations that can address some of the critical DoD needs. And then in entry into the accelerator, you'll receive $15,000 if you're selected, and then move forward through that programming. And for our partners here, I'm part of DIU, and then our Defense Innovation OnRamp Hub in Washington is executing this with us, and then they'll be handling the accelerator that follows. And so that's who you heard from earlier with Chris and Kelly. They're part of that Defense Innovation OnRamp Hub. And then we also have some Department of Defense stakeholders that they're working with, and they are the ones informing on some of these topic areas, and they'll be providing some of the programming as well for the accelerator. Some key dates to keep in mind are the solicitation closing. So you have until the 27th of February, which is next week, to submit your proposal for this challenge. And then it will be the week of March 24th when they actually begin the execution of the accelerator programming. Here's a more detailed timeline for reference. And again, this is all listed on the event page, which I'm sure you found if you're here today with us. And so just to walk you through some of these dates, Of course, today's the AMA. Within a week, we will have the information before the solicitation closes. We'll have the information posted on the event page. So we'll have the video recording there, and then we'll also have a Q&A document that captures all of the questions asked and then the responses to those. And then on March 14th, we will announce the finalists coming out of this that will be awarded to move forward through the accelerator. And the accelerator agenda will also be distributed on that date. And again, as I mentioned, the week of March 24th is when the accelerator program begins. And then the week of July 21st is when it concludes. And so this is also listed on our event page, just some of the benefits of participating. Again, it's $15,000 to each finalist selected to progress through the accelerator. And as part of that, you'll receive mentorship. There would be a potential for follow-on opportunities and working and developing relationships with some of the DoD stakeholders involved. And then you'll be provided with a curriculum to help you navigate the defense tech market and acquisition process and things like that. And I think also coming out of this, they hope that there's some opportunities for cross collaboration with within the startup community. As far as eligibility, we're looking for US owned and operated companies and startups. And so part of that is also having active registration in sam.gov. So if you haven't already, please start that process. I believe we provided a link in the event page as well to sam.gov to start that registration process. But if you start now, you should have it in place before the end of the solicitation period. And then we're also looking for non-traditional defense contractors. And more information can be found in the 2023 DoD Other Transactions Guide. That is also linked on our event page. So if you wanted to take a look there, you could find more information. And then as part of this eligibility, we want to make sure that those who are interested in submitting to this challenge will have the ability to commit to the 4-month programming that follows with the accelerator. They do anticipate that there will be 10 days of on-site programming. And, I won't talk through all of these details here, but please, if you have questions on any of this and what the commitment looks like or anything regarding that, please put them in the activities button and we'll get to it throughout this session. We'll make sure we address all the questions. This is what we had listed for the pitch deck submission requirements on our website. And as part of that, we've included a quad chart that I also will show an example of here shortly, and we'll post that to the event page also. That was kind of a late addition, so we haven't put that up on the website yet, but you can expect to see that soon. And here's the judging criteria. And some of these things I won't talk through in great detail because I know there are probably a lot of questions that we want to get to, but as a reference point in case we need to come back to this, we have this listed here, as well as the problem statement. And at this point, I want to turn it over to Chris or Kelly. If you want to elaborate at all or go into any details of the problem statement, please feel free.
Yeah, I think the whole thing that everyone here, this is really for you, the companies and innovators. The thing that separates us from other accelerators, as you all probably know, is that we're not taking equity or asking you to pay us. This is a DIU funded event, meaning that we are here for the end user. I was a Marine for 23 years, and as a pilot, I always say getting your widget, your service, your gadget, whatever you want to call it, your company's thing to the warfighter faster. And I think the problem statement as a whole says, and I think all of you have probably experienced in some way, shape, or fashion, how hard it is to navigate the landscape and the acquisition process. We are here to make connections, to not tell you how to run your company, but give you options from everything and help you fill those gaps. And if you get down selected, I'll just say that there's a lot more rigor that we're going to be asking as far as like some details into your company, where you're at now, so that I can move the needle, as we always said. And the team here with Ensign DIU continues to get your company to progress as we get to that end state of getting it to the warfighter. So that's kind of the problem statement, is helping you navigate. And we have a new thing, I view us as a bridge. You got innovators on one side, the warfighter on the other. We're there to support you in the middle. And that's what we're here to do, is make sure that even when you're not at those in-person sessions, if you have questions, need help, guidance, everything else, our team is here for you to help you through that process. So problem statement kind of summarized in a longer version of my own words, but that's kind of what we're here to do. And I hope that kind of makes sense. And that's what I'll say about that, Angela.
Great, thank you. And these are the focus areas that they had listed. Notice in parentheses there, these are not just a discriminating list of different examples. They are just that, examples. So it doesn't need to necessarily fall within any of these specifics that are listed, but we wanted to provide some examples there of some of the tech areas. And then let's see here. I also have that quad chart that I mentioned earlier, just an example. We had some questions come in about, can we provide an example? So this is, yours doesn't have to exactly mimic this, but it is an example to help you get started if you needed one. And then from there, I'm going to turn it over to the questions. So I'm going to pull up the ones that have come in already and work through those. Okay, the first one of the eligibility criteria is that entrants must be US owned and operated companies and startups. And given we are based in Sydney, Australia, would that rule quasar out? However, if we were to set up a US owned company prior to the week of March 24th, would we then be eligible? Yes, if you did start up a company to meet that criteria of US owned and operated, then you would be eligible.
Thanks,
And,
Angela. G'day, everybody. Richie Singh. It's 5 a.m. here, so apologies for the slightly tardy voice, but much appreciated.
Thanks for joining us. And then the next question, what TRLs are preferred for the challenge? I'll defer to Chris and Kelly there. I know we didn't explicitly say where they needed to be TRL wise. Do you have any input there?
Yeah, thanks, Angela. And that's a great question. We didn't put that in there because we know every company that's listening is probably at a different one, from idea in your garage to something more developed. So this curriculum is going to be based for all of that, meaning that there's going to be some that are more applicable to the beginning stages of a TRL, and then some that are going to be later. But as we refine this curriculum for future on-ramps or DTAs, it's going to be tailored for your TRL level and funding level as well. But to answer that question, it doesn't really matter. Right now, we are trying to meet you where you are. And once we know what solicitations come in and the down select is, we're going to tailor that curriculum a little bit more to try to have speakers meet you at that level, if that makes sense. So don't worry about the TRL level is what I'm getting at for you. We are going to look and see that, and then we're going to try to match a speaker that can get you to the next level, if that makes sense.
Thank you. The next question, do you want the quad doc as a slide or as its own document? That would be considered part of your slide deck, so it would need to fall within the requirements listed. Is the applicant the company or the individual at the company? Can only one person per organization participate? So the applicant is the company. As far as how many should or could participate from the company itself, I'll defer to Kelly and Chris again, because I'm not sure capacity wise what you're able to accommodate or planning for as far as the in-person portion. Like, should one representative be there or multiple?
Yeah, good question. We're planning on, if it's really up to you, and everyone knows their company better than us, but really obviously you get the money, but how you use it is up to you after that. So if you want to use it, really the funding was to help you with that travel. But obviously if one person is a little cheaper depending on where you're located to get there. So if you want to send two, please do. I'd say to answer that 2 to 3, but really up to you. And I've seen some companies just say it's just going to be them. Okay, that's really up to you, whoever gets the most benefit from your company, and however you want to fund that travel after that. So in short, I'd say 2, maybe 3 for certain ones, but that's again up to you. But that's about all we can handle, given there will be 8 down selects. You know, do the math. That's 24 at max, plus some speakers and other reps in there. So that's kind of what we're planning for. Is
Can I
2.
ask a follow-up too?
Yeah, please.
So in deciding, like I live near where this happens. If I were going and I wanted to bring someone with me, is it better to have a technical person at the accelerator, or better to have someone on the business side at the accelerator?
I think that is kind of a dependent on, we're going to have mentors and other speakers that are going to be on both technical and the business side. So once you get down select, we're going to do a welcome aboard package. I know there's a lot of questions. What's the agenda and all that stuff? We're not sending that out just yet, because we're saving some of that for when we do the down select, as some of this is still developing. But what I'll tell you is, you know your company better than I do. If that technical person is part of your speaker and presentation stuff, maybe that's the better person to come. If you're really looking for that business development strategy with VCs or other kind of corporate mentors and stuff, and then if you get down selected, what I'll also tell you is I'll send out an agenda to where maybe you switch it up to where you have the technical guy at certain ones, or gal, sorry, and then maybe you have a business. Maybe you have the business one at other ones. So really, I want you to have all the options and information. So we will give you, once you get selected, I'm going to be full bore open with you and let you know where to go, where to plan, and give you a welcome aboard packet. So you know hotels, travel dates, all the other things, and kind of the rough agenda and topics we're going to be talking, so that you as a company can now put your best people in each position, if that makes sense.
Thanks.
Thank you. The application has a menu of tech development stages to pick from. What is MVP? For our criteria listed, there is an emphasis on any that is better than the other necessarily. I don't know if you want to elaborate there, Kelly, but I think in general they're looking for you know, anything that fits within the criteria listed and the tech areas that we listed.
Yeah, that stands for minimum viable product. So really it's just having we don't define that necessarily at this stage. It's just a term people like to use and throw an acronym in the DoD that they like to show in the acquisition process. But that means something different for everybody, whether you're support or if you have a widget that's further along in development. But minimum viable product means that you have something there that you can show. And so don't read too much into that about the level. It's kind of goes in line with the TRL, how far along you are, but you got to have something. That's kind of what we're saying, is, which kind of is redundant, but having something and not just an idea that's on paper only, unless you have something to show with it. You got to have some kind of proof of concept to go along with that.
Thanks. What can the 15K be used for? It's up to your discretion what you use that award for. It was initially presented to award so that it would help with travel costs or you know, any of your accommodations costs. So it was an effort to help make it more feasible for you to attend the accelerator. But again, it's up to your discretion what you choose to use that for. Is there a preference for companies located in the Northwest? There is, because of the in-person component with the accelerator, but that doesn't necessarily exclude others if they're able to make, you know, commit to the in-person portion in the accelerator.
And Angela, I'll just say, if you guys saw that grading criteria, there's nothing that weighs a company that's to the Northwest. Obviously, we are part of OnRamp Hub Washington, so we're trying to showcase to all you companies, the other companies and ecosystem we have up here. But it is not to say that someone from up here will get a higher score threshold rating than somebody that's down in Florida or Australia or wherever else.
Thank you. Can you elaborate on the limited or no prior DoD contracts? Do prior SBIR contracts preclude eligibility? So as far as what we use to go through and screen whether or not you meet the non-traditional defense contractor eligibility, we use what's referenced in that 2023 DoD transactions guide that's listed. And as part of that, you can click on that link on the event page and read through it all. But it does provide a little bit more information as to whether or not your specific case would fall within that. So I would encourage you to reference that link that's provided on the website to determine whether or not you fall within that criteria or eligibility. Can you explain what potential for follow-on opportunities entails? Is anyone participating eligible? So the potential for follow-on opportunities refers to the process that we execute this challenge, because it is meeting the competitive process. It would allow for one of the DoD stakeholders, if there was a relationship built and your technology met one of their gaps or needs, capability needs, then they would have the option to move forward and work with you on something. There are no defined or definitive pathways that we have outlined as a follow-on to this. However, in building those relationships and having the DoD stakeholders involved, it will provide that potential for follow-on opportunities. What is the expected time commitment outside of or in addition to the in-person events? Good question. I don't have the details. Kelly, can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so this was built to be as you can take on the extra stuff as much as you want with your company. The main thing is refinement. We're going to be working on a lot, just like, let's see, your pitching development, your key stakeholder engagements, all those kind of things. And I think you'll see a big difference from when you walk in from week one to, the start of month one versus month 4 of how you pitch it to different people. And I know some of you are masters of that out there, and I'm not trying to insult you with your own companies, but some are not. We see a lot of that as we come in here, but the outside work, and I'm only using that as an example, as whatever you take away and the connections you make, that there's not a whole lot of homework. I know you got a company to run, and we're going to make a lot of those connections, but there's not going to be a lot of rigorous in between. You only got about 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks between each session. And it's really for you to take that information back to your company and refine the stuff you've learned and then go set up for the next one. But I also know that you have other obligations in the interim. So bottom line, not a whole lot of outside stuff. It's really to take back and refine and develop for those potential connections later.
Thank you. When will the agenda be posted for the accelerator? So that will be distributed upon finalists being notified that they're selected to move forward to the accelerator. Kelly, do you plan on sharing any more details prior to that, or are we just sticking with?
No, I think the first one's the alligator closest to the boat because of the timeline, and that was just the way it's panned out. So no one's at blame for that, no organization. But the first one you can all plan on. If you get selected, I'll tell you, it'll be in Seattle, March 26 and 27. So you can plan that one for your, but the agenda in that is, I'm not going to go into the details of, speaker agenda, that kind of thing until you get down selected. But March 26th and 27th is the first key date that you guys can kind of mark on your calendar for the actual in-person. And like I said, that'll be in actual Seattle.
Thank you. Have the dates for the on-site sessions been decided? If yes, can you share the dates?
Yeah, just like what I alluded to, just the first one is where I'm going at. And then the other ones we do have down select, but there's some other things we're still lining up with different speakers and organizations to come in and making sure that everyone's timelines align. But by the time you get down selected, you should know that, and we'll give you the all that detail so you can plan a few months out, because I know that's important.
Thank you. Can this accelerator program, if awarded, count toward past performance in bidding future programs? I can at least speak to the process itself is considered a competitive process, so that any DoD stakeholders that you develop relationships with or potentially wanted to move forward and work with you, they would not have to recompete if they felt comfortable with our down select process, and they could potentially move forward. Kelly, I don't know if you wanted to elaborate at all with that one.
No, yeah, I mean, I think this one, so everyone's got to remember too, this is the first rollout of this. So it's kind of in its infancy and new as far as DIU, Ensign, and OnRamp Hub Washington working together with this. I think there's a lot to be learned and lessons learned after this. I hope would be the answer to that would be yes, but I can't guarantee that off the top of my head right now. But I will definitely write it down and follow up and get you the answer to that one.
Thanks. Will there be a prize challenge on the East Coast in the near future? I do not have a prize challenge that has come my way for the East Coast that is similar to this one that feeds into an accelerator. We do have other prize challenges that will kind of be like the entry point to other accelerator programming, but we don't have one that's specific to the East Coast at this time. But the success of this one will definitely be an indicator of, you know, whether or not that's something we need to do moving forward. So I'll take that as, you know, interest and something to bring up the chain so that we're all aware that might be something others are looking for. If we already submitted, but the quad chart wasn't a requirement, then will there be any issues resubmitting the application with the quad chart? No, because the quad chart was added later, you wouldn't be excluded from consideration, but I would encourage you to resubmit again with the quad chart now that we have a template available for you. I think that would, you know, completely up to you, but it might be valuable if you did that. If we already submitted, oh, same question again, what outcomes are you looking to achieve at the end of the 4 months? I'll turn that one over to you, Kelly.
Yeah, so the main thing is, like I said, once you get a down select, we are going to ask you not to be intrusive. Obviously, you can share as much or as little as you want, but this is for all of you, and I don't work for any, like, I'm not getting a piece of your pie or trying to. So I just want to reiterate that, or none of us are. We're all here for you to get to the goal line. Having said that, we're going to be asking you an in-doc questions about your company, where you're at, and then we will have our internal criteria of where you're at and how to get you moved to the right. And so our outcome, and that's one of the questions we want from each of you, is where are you at now and what is your goal as a company as you come into this, so that we can tailor our curriculum and our contacts for that. But I can tell you my personal one is to see you all advance. My ultimate outcome is to either see you as a prime or subprime with whatever you got out there. That's my ultimate, and see it in, well, the ultimate goal is to see your thing in warfighter's hand now, or wherever the technical, you know, merit is for your solution. Having said that, it's really to make sure that you have advanced, and when you walk away, this curriculum doesn't end. We are still here to help you push forward with everything. So the goal is to keep you moving forward and not stagnate or move backwards, because that would be really bad. So that's the goal.
Thanks. Are there ways or resources we can use to learn more about specific DoD use cases and needs to address? Sometimes we have a technology that we believe is useful to the DoD. It would be very helpful to have a way to verify the use cases. Kelly, did you want to add anything there?
Yeah, so that's the big conundrum, even in the DoD, and talking to my friends that are still active duty out there and everything else, having worked in the Pentagon for years, is what makes a requirement? What is the difference between big R, little r? You hear some of these terms and you wonder, what is this? And what can I speak about that's not high side? And is there a secret requirement and all these other things, which obviously we're talking open here. So I can tell you that that is a big problem with DoD, and what they're trying to do is have a repository of information to where it's easily accessible and for a company to go and look in that and see where those are at. But to tell you that there is something now openly, no. What I will tell you is that we internally are working on things that once you get down select will make it easier, and we're going to give you some tools and sites to look at for that data mining of how to go about and find some of those things for future use, or what the DoD is actually looking at as far as a requirement. So long way of answering, no, there's nothing easy or just going and searching for those kind of things right now. But I know that that is a big problem, that there are a couple things in work right now over in DC to try to get that out in the next year or so.
Thank you. Another question on the monthly on-site programming meetings. Can you describe the anticipated agenda for the monthly on-site? I don't know if you want to touch on that again at all, Kelly.
So yeah, so the main thing is different locations here in the Northwest. And the reason for that is we have a lot of infrastructure up here to showcase partners that are already going through the same struggles you as a innovator have or are going through. And it's to match you up with those, not to say that as a mentor, as guidance, and as connections, but expect that there's going to be specified curriculum. Like I said, we're going to have a thorough indoc sheet for all of the 8 companies coming in, and we're going to try to match where they're at and make sure that we're giving them stuff that's not wasting your time and energy as a business owner or company, and still push that agenda to the right. So I can tell you without going into the specified details that we have everything from private equity firms to government firms to the end users, all part of this curriculum. So in a broad topic, we're trying to cover just about everything that I would want as a business owner and startup. My right-hand man, Nelson, which is somewhere listening on the screen, very smart guy, but he's also an innovator and a startup founder himself. So we do a lot of this curriculum build based off of everything from a higher TRL and funding level all the way to somebody who has nothing. So knowing all of that, I want you all to know that I'm not giving you a whole lot of detail, and that's on purpose because I'm waiting for those solicitations to come in. But it's going to be something that covers the whole gambit, if you will.
Thanks. The quad doc is loaded with information. A separate doc would make it way easier to read. Can we set it up as a separate document and have a max of 9 slides? No, you must submit it as part of your slide deck. That is the only deliverable submission that will be reviewed per the criteria and evaluated. Another quad chart question. Does this count as part of your allowed 10 slides? Yes, it does. Any specific reason for Renton, Washington? Yes, that is where our OnRamp Hub is located. I don't know if you want to elaborate there, Chris or Kelly.
Yes,
Chris.
Renton is where the Defense Innovation OnRamp Hub Washington's like physical location is home base. So that's why Renton is the spot, and it has a very large collaborative space and a lot of resources, easy to get into and out of from SeaTac Airport. So that's why it's centered there. Although as Kelly did mention, a couple of these sessions will be moved around the Pacific Northwest a little bit it'll be convenient, but to give you different access to different things. But yes. Renton is the home base for Defense Innovation OnRamp Hub, Washington. Thank you.
Thank you. Do all employees have to be U.S. citizens, or H-1B visa is fine as well? There's no requirement about the employees being required to be U.S. citizens. It's just that the company needs to be U.S. owned and operated. So the citizens don't have to be U.S. In addition to warfighting applications, will you also consider tech that supports other DoD applications such as logistics, maintenance, inspection, repair, etc.? Over to you, Kelly.
Yes. So yes, because I view logistics and sustainment and all that. I know everyone else does as part of supporting the warfighter. So even though I say warfighter's hands, it's really the support of the warfighter as well. So I may have misspoke. So thank you for that. But yes, logistics, solutions, all those things are part of this.
Great, thank you. Who are the DoD stakeholders partnering with DIU with this DIU accelerator? I don't know if you're able to share any of those stakeholders, Kelly.
I can tell you it's quite a vast list that I'm not sharing publicly. And there's a reason for that because they're all around and obviously everyone's very busy over there. But I can tell you that it's from different services, different agencies that are all part of this. It's a great team, but a lot of it is not wanting to get hit up with personal emails or get inundated by everything as well. So that's kind of the mill partners. Maybe future will let you know because some of the topics and discussions, you will actually meet some mill partners maybe that weren't part of the down select, but they're going to be speaking to us as well, watching and meeting with all of you as well. So just know it's from all it represents the whole DoD concept, and we're excited to have them on board, but I don't want to share that information just yet.
Thank you. How many down selected finalists will there be? It will be up to 8 selected as finalists to progress through the accelerator. Will the quad chart template be shared? Yes, we'll link it in the Q&A document. So when you go to the event page under the timeline portion, that's where we'll link the AMA video and Q&A document, which will also have the quad chart example. Are DoD letters of support valuable for application or need? We are an emerging technology. Kelly, do you have an answer to that?
I'd say, yeah. I mean, anything that you can show the support that there's a relevance for your new emerging tech, I think, yeah, show relevance that the DoD has asked for it, or if you have that letter and stuff and can support it, I think that does show relevance because it already shows a stakeholder that's already interested in it. So for sure, if you can put that into your slides somewhere, or at least a blurb or two about it, I think that would help support your argument. So that's what I'd say about that.
Thank you. If we are already in cyber programs, does that exclude us? Not necessarily. It depends on when and the value. So I would encourage you to check the link that's listed under the eligibility for the non-traditional defense contractors. And you can read through there and understand whether or not your company would be considered eligible. Can we have one person applying for the accelerator and have 2 people from our company alternate in attending the on-site sessions? It would be the company that submits and applies, the company as a whole. As far as how many people, I guess, Kelly, would you be okay with them alternating who attends, or would you want the same people each time?
I think there's value in at least having one person that's the continuity through this. Cause like I said, some of the stuff we talk about is how you develop your product, and making sure that gets back to you or your rep, making sure that gets back, but really over to you. I mean, if you couldn't because of, other conflicts, I understand that, but I would say it's still important to have somebody there through continuity wise, through all five of those clusters.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and if I just one thing also, the cluster itself or the cohort of companies themselves and those contacts become kind of a high trust collaborative environment, the way we typically set these things up. So that's why the consistency of at least having one person there, they're really going to leave with a bunch of close contacts and things that they didn't have previously. So that's why we kind of recommend that consistency if possible, although not required and stuff, as Kelly mentioned, to the company to make the decision what makes sense for each company.
Thank you. How do you plan to work with local venture capital funds, and will there be cross collaboration or sessions with investors?
Yes. So to answer that, yes, we're going to have it from, like I said, stakeholders, and we are not telling you how to do your company and the funding. We're just trying to give you all the options available out there and then help you navigate the process. So if you want to go with VC, we will have a certain curriculum tied to VC type funding events as well. And you'll meet and greet with some of those folks as well. So, and that's at every location because we want you to have lots of contacts and lots of options for your company.
Thank you. How to submit the idea or pitch. Our SAM registration is currently underway. It might take a few weeks before we get it. Does that hinder our ability to submit the form? No, still submit. I would annotate in there that your SAM registration is in the works and where you're at. The SAM registration was listed as part of our eligibility, so it's required. However, if you started and it's going to take some time and it won't be completed until after the solicitation closes, we could work with that. Ultimately, that's part of that is also streamlining our payment process. So it might delay your payment, but you would still be considered if it was underway. So please mention that in your pitch deck or somewhere in the submission. If it's in the works, it's just not finalized. Is there any particular branch focus, Army, Marines, etc.? And I know you already addressed this, Kelly. You said there's representation from several branches. And the rest of the question says, and should the proposal be focused on working with a particular branch or office, or is it better if there's cross-branch applicability?
Yeah, so we've had a couple companies ask us kind of those type questions. What I would say to you is, it's your company and idea. I can't tell you what the answer to the test is, but what I'd tell you is, it's your story to tell us. And in my personal view is, just because I was a Marine, I'm not looking just for Marine, and I'm not part of the down select. I'll just tell you that. I am not looking for Marine solutions. I'm not just matching you with Marine things, what they need. So I would argue to everybody, if you're dual use and joint need, you're probably going to get more traction. So look and try to tell everybody what is out there and what is applicable for the bigger market and everything else, because that's just, you're casting your net out and seeing what grabs on from your idea and product. So in that aspect, that's kind of what the way I would tell you to go about it. But no, don't focus like just because you think the Navy has a single solution or the Coast Guard or whatever it may be. Really don't kind of limit your options to that.
Thanks. Can you describe in general what types of things will be covered and/or activities that will take place at the on-site meetings?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that one?
Yes. Can you describe in general what types of things will be covered or the activities that will take place at the on-site meetings?
Yeah, so first, and going back to the last question, is that I just want you to know, OnRamp Hub Washington has partners that cover and represent all the branches and everything up here. So that's easy to tap into for everybody's needs and baseline. But each one specifically, we're not going into the curriculum, but I can tell you it's everything from funding, development, and this is where I'm getting into we are still tailoring some of the later curriculum for where your TRL is and where your funding is, because I want to know where every company is, so we're not wasting your time. And that's okay if you have nothing right now, but just an idea or whatever else, please put it in. And that at least gives us the concept of where to start for your company. But the other thing that I want you all to know is when your 8 companies are in the room and you're talking to each other, everyone's going to be at a different level or maybe the same, but it's that cross-pollination of collaboration too that you guys are going to see throughout this curriculum, that some people are going to be at different levels and have different contacts, and how you guys accelerate through and how they've dealt with problems and issues is a huge thing, as you all probably know. But the curriculum is going to be covering everything from funding, SBIRs, and how to deal with all that, the pitfalls, what are the things that these experts are seeing on their end, things to avoid as you're writing these solicitations, contracts, dealing with stakeholder engagement. I'm just giving you, I know there's a lot of stuff out there, but every place will have a detailed curriculum and timeline for you once we get those 8 selected. Angela.
Thanks. In the case of a drone solution company, will I be able to find DoD drone stakeholders through the accelerator program?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a TRL or level of product development that would be considered too far advanced for this program?
Not in my mind. No.
Okay. Where can we find the quad chart template? What is supposed to go in each quadrant? In the example, it gives you what information needs to be there. And again, it's just an example. You don't have to mimic it exactly, but that will be provided and linked in the on the incident event page that has all of the solicitation information. It will be linked where the Q&A document is. So under the AMA, under the timeline. Is there an issue if our technology does not have an obvious dual use purpose or commercial use?
No. There's not. And that's not part, I mean, that is, we put a little bit in there, and what I was just talking about is obviously you're just casting your net, telling your story for your company. But if it is only a singular thing that's really directed towards market, then just tell your story of why that's still needed the best you can. But there's nothing that says it has to be dual use in these.
How much weight will be assigned to commercial versus DoD customer traction in the down select process? I can tell you just broadly, what you see in the criteria is what will be evaluated. So as far as weight being assigned to specifics, if they are not mentioned in the problem statement and the technical areas, then and not referenced in the criteria, then there won't be specific weight put to that. But Kelly, if you wanted to elaborate at all, please go ahead.
No, that's fair enough. Yeah, everything that Angela just said is part of the grading criteria. So that is exactly how it's going to be going. And we're not adding to it, behind the scenes, or like someone asked earlier, is a Washington company getting, special treatment or a higher score? No, the answer is no. Whatever you see in that grading criteria is it. So please focus on that. And maybe that's where I'm not telling you how to pitch these things or put your slides in or tell your story, but I would say focus on those ones and you'll have a better chance.
Thank you. Another question here regarding SIBRs and whether they're eligible. Again, I would just encourage you to reference the link that we have provided on the website regarding the non-traditional defense contractor. And I would also encourage you to apply if you're uncertain whether or not you qualify. We do try to be as inclusive as possible when it comes to screening for the eligibility. So, if you feel like there's a little bit of gray area in what you have on contract and what's listed, please go ahead and apply. What intellectual property protections can be established? Will non-disclosures be executed by DIU? So I can tell you with evaluations, for if it's not a government person, if it's like a government contractor, they do a non-disclosure agreement. And I believe, like, in general, because they're looking at tech areas in focus, they may not be enough in the weeds to really have access to some of the, specific stuff where IP was necessary to like include in the solicitation in great detail. But Kelly, if you have any other thoughts on that, please share.
Yeah, I think that's just it. There's nothing, this is wave top information until you get in front of somebody or one of our mentors, mentees, or a connection that you want to share that information with. That's over to you, but you're able to share as much or little as you want about that. But we are not sharing your content with anybody. It's you sharing it in your story, meaning that with these down selects, we don't know enough about your company, and there shouldn't be so much tech and IP that you need that protection on these slides. So I would say keep it at that level, but also know that we're not out there just farming it and holding on to it. It's through you guys to filter that out and really talk about those technical merits and where you need IP protection when you share that with other industry partners.
Megan, go ahead.
Yes, no problem. And I just want to specify too, there is a clause about IP considerations at the bottom of the event page for this challenge, which specifies that applicants retain the rights and ownership to any IP included in their submission. And should any testing and evaluation be necessary, which in this case, that may occur later on, then a limited license would be negotiated, but any further use case would be negotiated with that participant. So there is no retention of IP. You are the sole owner of your submission.
Great. Thank you so much for clarifying. If a company is new, company did not sell anything commercially or in defense, but technology itself is dual use and there are products in the market, would not having sold anything place our submission at a disadvantage? I would say, because that's not like a specific, something we specifically addressed in the criteria and specifically in the problem statement. I don't think that there's a lot of emphasis on that, but Kelly, if you wanted to elaborate, please go ahead.
I would just answer that as no. I don't think that would hurt you in any way. It's really just, like I said, the solicitation of telling your story and why it's applicable for the DoD as a whole, but I don't think that would hurt you at all.
Thank you. Can you provide a link to where to apply for this challenge? Joy or Karina, could you pop that link in the chat box so that others can access it, please? And then to the one who asked it, you should see it in the chat here shortly, the link. Any relationships or material on DIU Blue Manufacturing? This is separate from Blue Manufacturing, so completely a separate objective here. But I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Kelly.
The only manufacturing I would say is that there are some of our PNDC or, Washington OnRamp Hub partners and PNDC member type groups that deal with manufacturing specifically. And they will be mentors and talking about their stories and dealing with DoD stakeholders. So there's potential for those kind of connections and everything else that are doing the manufacturing type work for the DoD. So that's really all we have for that kind of curriculum, if it's a manufacturing specific type.
Well, yeah, and I would just add that if you participate in a DIU or Ensign program such as this one, you will be part of our network that's constantly growing. And so as part of our data that we keep to reference the companies with different technologies, like you'll be in our system so that others know that you're in that space and you have these capabilities. So there is potential that your information would be referenced at some point in time, not your proposal or any of your specific technological, like any of the submission deliverable or anything like that. It would just be your basic like company, this is the space they're in, things like that. So you'll be part of our network, which I think helps in, relationships within DIU, of course, because there is a strong likelihood that somebody could be looking for people or companies in that space and, your name would come up. So that's another benefit of, I think, participating and applying for this to potentially enter our network. And it looks like we are at time. So I want to quickly just share on the bottom of the slide, prize challenge at diu.mil. Please send any questions there. Megan and I's contact is here as well. But if you have questions that weren't addressed here, I'd encourage you to send them to this email at the bottom of the slide right here. And then check the webpage. We hope to have the AMA video and the Q&A by the end of the week up on there so that you have some time to, grab that information or reference any of it before you submit and before the solicitation closes next week. So I just want to say thanks everyone for taking the time. I think we had a great discussion, lots of good questions, and feel free to reach out if you have any additional ones. And I'll turn it over to Kelly if you had anything you wanted to share before we close out.
No, I want everyone to be excited about this because it is an exciting new thing. The DIU and Ensign team with OnRamp Hub Washington is doing, and it really is. I can't stress enough for all of you to make it to the wherever the goal is for your company and specific technology that you have. And I look forward to working with you all and pushing, progressing this further and getting you to that goal line. So thank you again for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks so much for joining us.